The next intervention is from Antonio Franchi. And Antonio, we would like you to give us, if you can, to the extent possible in the time, if you could provide an overview of the 5G economy, in particular, the sort of use cases and how things are evolving, and the space for 5G program in telecommunications and the related technology support opportunities that you have at fingertips. So, Tony.
Sure. Thank you very much, and hello everybody. I hope you're well, taking care of yourself, happy and healthy during this lockdown, which is far too long, but also perhaps which emphasizes, I'm calling from London today in the UK, and perhaps this lockdown emphasizes even more the need for communication and connectivity everywhere. And perhaps this in itself is a good reason for ESA to get involved and to make sure that with the coming of 5G, we can help improve everyday life for everybody on Earth. This in itself would be a very noble goal for this program. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Space for 5G program, which is the program I am leading and coordinating in the agency with respect to all activity about telecommunications and the integration between satellite and 5G telecommunications. So in the next slide, we can see one of the slogan we like to use, expand 5G space. Let me tell you a little bit for the origin of this program. We are witnessing a digitalization of industry and society. Everything is getting digitalized. We talk about smart cities. We talk about smart airports, smart ports, smart cars. Everything is getting smart. But in order for everything to get smart and to enable the smartness of our world, which improves both the industry and the society by and large, we need connectivity. We need a connectivity fabric which underpins every single element of this digital society. And that's where 5G comes in. 5G promises to be the connectivity fabric which enables the global digitalization. And that's very good. That this is where ESA, I think, we have a very important role to play. In order to expand 5G space, we aim at complementing the terrestrial 5G deployment so that the entire globe, the entire Earth can benefit from this global 5G seamless connectivity for the benefit of everybody. So what we're trying to advocate with this program really is what I call a triple win for society. It's a win for the space industry, because obviously the space industry has a great opportunity to embrace the terrestrial 5G technology and work alongside each other to expand that. It's a win for the terrestrial 5G community, because satellite can go and fill in those gaps of 5G coverage, or perhaps add those attributes of resilience, ubiquity, and security that 5G demands. And finally, is a win for every one of us, because with that global 5G connectivity will enable the industry 4.0 and will enable all of us to be more connected and to benefit from this connectivity fabric that everybody has. So that's kind of the reasons we are behind it, but that's not only it. There is also a very strong economic element that 5G brings along. So in the next slide, we can see what I call a very brief glimpse of what I call the 5G economy. If you look from a macroeconomic point of view, the 5G economy is absolutely compelling. The macroeconomic impact of 5G is staggering. With this global connectivity, reputable market research talk about a 5G economic impact in the order of more than $10 trillion by 2035. This is if you consider not only the economy of deploying 5G base station and 5G satellite-enabled terminals, but actually the impact that 5G has on the downstream economy, on all the vertical markets which are enabled by 5G. So $13 trillion is a huge, staggering amount. And our estimate is that our analysis shows that of that element, the satellite-derived economic impact by itself is in the order of $500 billion. So there's a very, very strong economic rationale and reasoning behind this need for global seamless connectivity and the need to integrate space assets, whether it's satellite telecommunication, navigation, or Earth observation, being part of this global connectivity which enables the 5G economy. So the idea is not only very strongly from the humanitarian point of view in connectivity and help improving everyday's life, but also to enable an inclusive, sustainable, and competitive global economy. And that's one of the reasons we believe at the Space Agency that we have a unique opportunity to intervene and to make sure that this telecommunication, navigation, terrestrial, and satellite sectors get together to enable and unleash this economy. So in the next slide, we start seeing what does it mean in terms of technology. And my previous colleagues already talked about some of the elements of this. But based on this strong on the fact that 5G and satellite 5G has a very strong economic and humanitarian impact, we have put in place a program which helps the space industry, the European Canadian space industry, to develop the required technology, systems, application, and services which make use of this global connectivity. And ultimately, what we want to do, if you observe these pictures, on the top left, there is a satellite, and the bottom right, there is a 5G mast. So what we want to do is to help build bridges between the terrestrial telecommunication infrastructure sector and the space sector. Build bridges to build better solutions together. So we have put in place a number of financial supporting elements, what we call 5G essential building blocks. We believe that as ESA, we must help industry yourselves to develop a technical solution in the integrated 5G terrestrial and satellite world. There are building blocks there, which are things like building 5G satellite core networks, as Stefano was mentioning before, integrating terrestrial 5G core networks with satellite networks. Build satellite proof of concept missions, which showcase the potential technical and economic impact of delivering a satellite-based 5G solution. Last but not least, work on standardization. And again, Stefano explained very much the effort that collectively in the agency we are putting to make sure that the 5G standardization is a family of standards which includes terrestrial and non-terrestrial, in this case, space assets of telecommunication and navigation. And finally, we are putting a lot of emphasis in over-the-air demonstration and 5G hubs, something I'll come back towards the end of the presentation to see what pragmatic actions we are taking to demonstrate the impact that space can have on 5G. So all these building blocks are technology developments which we have issued some invitation to tender, open tender, where we provide a high degree of funding to help the industry to develop these missing technology blocks. And if you go to the next slide, the counter side of the story is that we are very much focusing on the downstream applications as well. So if we now start to go down a little bit into the vertical markets that are addressed by space and 5G, we can see that depending on the industry sector we analyze, space for 5G can have an impact pretty much in all the vertical 5G markets and sectors identified. Here we list some of the most promising sectors where we believe that the integration of space assets with terrestrial 5G can benefit these sectors as a whole. First, I want to mention telemedicine and digital health, remote health. This the medical industry is undergoing a transformation, again, part of this digitalization. So there is digital health, which especially telemedicine and moving the care of the patients from the hospital to the home and to the local center, decentralizing hospital care. So all of this requires strong connectivity, especially in rural area rural areas where perhaps 5G and perhaps even 4G might be a challenge to reach. Developing, making sure that the hospitals are not so flooded, overgrown by people, but perhaps trying to prevent and prevent illness from the outset by reducing the number of people in the hospital. So this is something that the provision of satellite telecommunication can do in order to help to provide the doctor and help them to deliver care remotely. But also tele-education and remote schooling. This is something very, very topical today. Again, this cannot be made available without seamless connectivity. That's where this some of the solutions we are helping, for example, companies in Africa to deliver remote education for African schools in remote villages and rural centers. But perhaps now becomes more of a global need to provide this enough bandwidth capability specifically for teleeducation. And going on, there's a lot of transportation, and I have a couple of slides of transport. Transport is one perhaps of the most evident sectors where satellite is important. Certainly in the transport for aviation, and transport for maritime. This together with autonomy, we see, we mentioned already autonomous car, connected autonomous vehicles, but also we talk a lot about maritime autonomous ships and unmanned air mobility, unmanned air vehicles. So there is a lot of automation and digitalization in the transport industry, which blended with a set of different telecommunication can help unleash all kind of new vertical markets within the transport sectors. Last but not least, agriculture and energy are two very, very important industry where by nature, by the location of this deployment, satellite can play an important role. So we have a number of application support mechanisms to support application and service provider to develop their product and services which make use of space and non-space telecommunication to unleash, enable the smart cities and smart rural areas and smart ports and smart airports of the future. And I'll give you a couple of examples remaining on transport. Perhaps on the next slide, I want to give you a quick glimpse on the connected autonomous vehicle market. This is a booming market and perhaps is one of the most talked about in terms of 5G verticals. And it is true that it's a very, very promising market. The convergence of electrical vehicles, digitalization of information, and the autonomy, the driverless car or the autonomous vehicle. So the autonomy, electrification, and digitalization are perhaps best coming together in the connected autonomous vehicle market. The car is becoming a data center. It's a collector of different types of sensor, environmental data, road condition data, weather, traffic condition, and so on, so that this data can be transferred back to the network, to the cloud, and this data could be monetized. Equally, on the other side, cars can be enabled remotely to drive, either remote control or autonomously eventually, but only thanks to the connectivity. There is a set of new protocols, V2X, vehicle to everything, being devised, being defined, standardized, in order to enable the car to talk to everything around it. So whether the car talk to the electric grid in order to optimize the electric charging of the car, and the car can become therefore storage of energy, which can then be shared back to the grid and monetized, or whether the car talks to the network, vehicle to network communication. or whether the car talks to the infrastructure, vehicle to infrastructure, where the car is alerted by perhaps traffic situational awareness. All of these need continuous, reliable, and secure communication. And that's where satellite becomes very important in terms of providing the infrastructure globally across different environments. On the bottom left of this slide, I list what we believe are the most suitable use case cluster where satellite can play an important role. And things like vehicle monitoring, remote monitoring, or broadcast of high definition maps, navigation maps to the car. Software over-the-air upgrades is another area where satellite can be very efficient in delivering new software updates for the car. As I mentioned, situation awareness and teleoperation is very, very important. All of this has to do with what we call Internet of Things, so machine-to-machine communication. So this is machine-to-machine. A lot of the expected communications and data traffic in this market is expected to come from machine-to-machine. So there's a set of all the V2X protocols are all defined to for machines to talk to each other and for all machines around the car to talk to the car and vice versa. Equally important, of course, is the infotainment entertainment market, where actually we're talking to this time to person and people. There is a lot of technology development in that area. We talked about 3D car cockpits, for example, where we had 3D and virtual reality information coming to the driver, where either with head-up displays or 3D displays, surrounding information and complementary information gets blended and presented to the driver and to the passengers in the car in a way to enhance their experience, enhance their safety, and provide the required level of perhaps alertness, situational awareness to improve the safety of drive, or perhaps HoloLens or virtual reality experience a headset for the passengers back in the car, perhaps where they can stream their own Netflix film, and maybe in a 3D headset style. So there is a lot of technology, blends of virtual reality, augmented reality, which requires a large amount of data transfer, communication transfer to and from the car. All of this is something that we see. We are working with companies, developing solutions and testing some of these solutions together with the companies or with the OEM car manufacturers or with the solution service provider. And this is something we'd like to support more and invite the company to provide proposals and solutions where we can be part of enabling these new markets. Perhaps on the next slide, and maybe moving a little bit faster, I want to show the similar trends we see in the maritime sectors. So again, remaining transport sector, smart ports, and maritime autonomous ships is something that we see, we are working with, and we want to support even more. In this respect, we are about to launch an announcement of opportunity in February for call for proposal to develop products and services and applications enabling the smart and uncrewed shipping market. The themes we are considering are on the, not exclusively, but indicative are on the right-hand side of this slide. So we want to enable the shipping 4.0, as we mentioned, digitalization of the maritime shipping industry, the monitoring of coastal areas where the connectivity and communication is always a challenge, and the blends between ship-to-shore communication, satellite communication, terrestrial, different type of communication is very, very important. So integrating a communication seamless connectivity solution to support this type of services. Along with that is maritime surveillance, something which is very close to our heart, to provide maritime safety services and maritime surveillance in all sorts of public safety solutions. And last but not least, take care of the environment. So environmental sustainability and how the new evolving digitalization of smart ship sector can help, or at least not hinder, but rather help the environmental sustainability at sea, of seas and coastal areas. So this is something we're very much looking forward to. It's a joint initiative between the Telecommunication, the Navigation Directorate. It's focused on solutions for smart shipping, which make use of 5G and or position navigation timing solution. And it covers the whole range of activities from technology developments, product developments, ultimately focus on demonstration of specific applications in this sector. This is just an example of the type of call for proposal, type of initiatives where ESA is supporting industry in developing these solutions.